let's do this. I'm starting it a couple minutes early because that gets it out to you guys around 5 p.m. So today, if you're new to the group, today is Thursday, and Thursdays when you get answers to the questions you've got. I call it the Got Questions, Get Answers Day. So today we had a few questions. Now, if you're here live, you can always just post it in the chat, and I'll also answer your question there. Okay, so let's do this. First question comes in is, can you heal in an environment that makes you sick? And no, not generally you can't. What you can do is you can make a lot of progress, but it's a lot like trying to run a marathon when you have the flu. First, you got to get the environment changed so that it can promote your healing. Now, some of that change can come in by resolving trauma, getting a better therapeutic structure in place, getting skills in place, better understanding in place that helps you tolerate the environment until you have an opportunity to exit the environment. The real goal here is not to become tolerant of toxic environments, people, or situations. The goal is to heal so that you can get to a point where you can leave that toxicity and start building things that are fundamentally healthy for you. So to accomplish total healing, no, you can't do that in a toxic environment. You're going to need a different environment for the simple fact that real healing, when we're talking about narcissistic abuse, we're talking about emotional trauma, things like that, isn't about fixing anything. It's about becoming aware of and connected to our identity, our value, and our connection so that we can nurture our needs and our wants in a way that validates, invigorates, and expands us. And you can't do that in a toxic environment because a toxic environment's not going to feed your needs. You're going to need to have space to build new friendships, new connections, and experiences so that you can get your interpersonal needs and wants met and start building a solid support network and a play network for you. Because all relationships that are healthy have a good balance of companionship, intimacy, support, and play. And toxic environments typically don't have any of that going on. Generally, if we're dealing with like the narcissistic or consumer supply relationship, then there's only one person in the relationship, and that's the narcissist or the abuser. So you can't really heal in that. Plus, in toxic systems, mute that, we encounter re-triggering, re-traumatization, re-experiencing the event we're trying to heal from, or the concepts we're trying to work out in our mind. And since we can't feel safe to accomplish what we need, then we're going to really struggle to heal. All healing, period, whether it's a trauma, whether it's codependency, whether it's anxiety or insecurity or anything like that, requires a container of safety from which we can grow and explore and experiment in. You're not going to heal without that in that container. So ideally, you're going to have to create a container in your environment that is safe and reliable for you so you can start making that healing happen. Okay? So there you go for that question. Good question, by the way. Okay, so, and then jealousy. Let's talk a bit about jealousy. So if you're new to me, and if you're not new to me, you'll quickly discover that my philosophy around codependency and around trauma are all about need. It's all about the fundamental needs we have and getting those needs met. So codependency is a need for safety, so we can avoid being discarded or thrown away or abandoned, right? So we fawn, the brain goes into its fawn state and please the person so we can get our need met. The need is to have identity, value, and connection, and that's experienced as love. Jealousy is the expression of a need, the need to be valued, the need to be as important as another resource, okay? It's to feel like we genuinely matter to the other person. Now, this can be a little complex because sometimes jealousy is a valid signal about an imbalance in a relationship, and sometimes it's a signal about our imbalance about owning our value. If we have made somebody else responsible for how we feel about ourselves. We're telling ourselves stories about their behavior and their choices that make us jealous. That's very different than being in a relationship with a partner that is not actively engaged with us and not actively nurturing and appreciating and receiving us. Okay. So you have to look at the context of what your jealousy is in and what's coming up there. And so then we can look inward and explore that. Now, this doesn't mean it's just, when I say partner, I'm not just saying like an intimate partner or a spouse. I'm saying like a friend or a sibling or a parent or even a market. If you're in business, we tend to get jealous of other people's successes, things like that. And so jealousy is a call. It's a signal to you that you'll have an unmet need. And then we need to look at what's going on in the context of your experience to see where that need is not being functionally met. Is it not being functionally met in the prioritization of you in a relationship context of some sort? Or are you displacing your value onto somebody else's inclusiveness of you? Okay? Because if it's that, then we can start looking at the situation and analyzing. This is where an analysis actually becomes useful for us. We can analyze and piece apart the situation, the context, to see if we're actually being valued and we're just missing the cues because our programming's in the way, or if indeed there is an issue we need to look at. So jealousy is just a need. It's a need to be valued, the need to be a priority to someone else. And we need to make sure we're making ourselves a priority too. Now, for instance, if we're jealous of someone who has something we don't have, now we know what we want. Now we can check in and say, is this jealousy? Is this awareness that I'm gaining through my jealousy? Is this what it's trying to point out to me? We can ask that kind of question, and then if we light up, get energized by it, then we have this awareness of something bigger for us. That's a big deal. Now we know what we want. But usually when I see this, especially in myself, it's usually because I'm judging myself against them and thinking I come up short. That's what makes most people jealous. It's like, oh, they've got that and I don't. I'm jealous. Maybe we do have it. We just need to exercise our awareness of it so we can receive it. Or maybe we need to start valuing, appreciating, and honoring ourselves more so that our value isn't attached to some specific outcome or behavior that's external to us. Because value is sacred, guys. It's not something we measure. It is not something we evaluate. It is not something we prove or we demonstrate. It's something we embody. It's something we experience. It's something we share. Okay? And it's an energy. When we look at ourselves through the lens of love, we can see our value. We can experience it. That's our job, period. Don't measure your value because it's not transactional. Your value is because you exist. You matter for the simple reason you exist. Don't buy into the narcissistic concept that your value is based on your output. And if you don't do output, you're not valuable. That's a narcissistic abusive concept. Dump it. It's not useful. Okay? All right. So let me know, guys, what you think about my answers to your questions. Give me that feedback. Let me know if I'm hitting marks. That helps. Okay. All right. Next question is, and this is about sex. So if we're out there dating and we're recovering from narcissistic abuse and things like that, we shouldn't be dating. Okay, I'm gonna be real blunt. The dating field is not going to produce healing because dating is not about healing, and dating doesn't equate to relationships, period. And there's no way you can build a relationship while dating, while healing, that will nurture your healing. That's an inappropriate expectation of someone you're dating. It's not really what relationships are designed for anyway. Yes, in relationships, we will heal and we'll encounter things we need to grow through. But my experience, what is expansive, at least from my point of view, is that relationships are for the expansion of the individuals and the unit that is the relationship. So you can get out there and have companionship, intimacy, support, and play. But it's not necessarily designed to just drag up all your garbage and make you face it. You'll face it as a consequence of being in a relationship, but I don't think that's the purpose of it. So if you're, now to get to the question, if you want to have sex and just for the sake of having sex, then check in with yourself. Check in to see what need that's trying to fill. See if there's not something deeper going on that you need to pay attention to first. But then beyond that, that's between you and the people you interact with. Just make sure the context with them is bluntly and plainly clear about what's going on. Don't allude to a relationship in the future if you don't intend that. Be honest. Be clear with it. That's all. But do know this, when you get into that cycle, you're going to excite or activate longing feelings for connection and belonging and affection and intimacy and play, because that's part of it. And so you're going to need to evaluate your needs and how you respond to that kind of dynamic to make sure you're not medicating emptiness or loneliness, and that you're actually actively in a healthy way nurturing your bigger needs for connection and intimacy. All right. Okay, so, and then the last question is, how do you believe in abundance and stay in gratefulness when there is an appearance of scarcity? And I've kind of altered the question to add some context to it. My addition to that was when there's appearance of scarcity. So the thing is with abundance is we don't go out and we expect to find it. That's not how it works. What it works is we assume that it's available, and then we're willing to receive what shows up, and we're willing to persist until we discover it. That's the trick. So when we have needs or wants or things we want to experience, then we need to, and we're not getting them, we're going out there and we're attempting to find them. We need to be patient. We need to be open. We need to receive, and we need to continue. We also need to balance our expectation. A lot of times from a codependent point of view, we get out there and we expect a fast escalation into a specific kind of experience. And generally, that doesn't actually happen. In healthy dynamics, it takes time, it takes cultivation to experience these things and to make them more of a regular part of our lives. So we want to be really mindful about that. We want to be mindful about what expectations we're putting on ourselves, putting on other people, putting on the dynamic, because that's going to lead us towards disappointment and frustration if it's unrealistic. So, and in specific reference to this question, it's about having meaningful, deep conversation. Stay open, but don't go into an experience expecting or seeking that. Go into an experience to just find out what happens. There's a funny thing that happens when we let go of trying to get it or seeking what we want. We start actually being able to receive it because our hands are open and available for it. Put it in a metaphorical way, because when we're seeking something, it's typically closed. We're trying to control. So we got to receive. We got to get curious about it too, and open. And sometimes it takes time. There's things that I'm still waiting for. There's still things I'm working for. They'll happen because I'm a stubborn person. And so sometimes you just got to keep at it. And one way you can help here with yourself is to ask the question of, what am I aware of about my desire for this kind of deep, meaningful conversation that I'm not aware of right now? Or what am I aware of about finding this or receiving this that I'm not acknowledging right now? So we want to get out of conclusion and we want to get back to curiosity. We want to see if we're actually aware of something about this that we're tuning out because we have this conclusion about it. Okay? That's more of an intuitive approach. When I ask that question, I listen to the energy that comes up, and then an awareness comes, and I'm like, oh, that. And then I receive that with a question. I'm like, okay, so what else am I aware of here about this that I am not acknowledging? And typically, as I do that, a very strong sense of clarity starts to form, and then I have a inspiration, a direction to go in that allows me to grow. So those are our questions for today. Thank you guys for being a part of the community. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for participating. Remember, you can ask questions of the group anytime. You can share your adventures, ask for guidance. I encourage you to, because that's what I want you guys to do. So continue to do that. I appreciate how you guys are supporting each other. You've done a fantastic job with that. And remember that you're worth knowing, loving, and keeping. And one last word, We're filling up fast with Get Closure Now. We start in just 12 days or so. Make sure if you want closure on your trauma, you want to get back to belonging, you want to find happiness again, you want your headspace back, you want your body to back, you want to eliminate that emotional flashbacks, those triggers, then you need to stop procrastinating. You need to stop reasoning yourself out of it and trying to make yourself cope with it. Do the scary thing. Apply for your spot and Get Closure Now. This is the last time it's open for this year. The next time will be January 2020. Guys, that's 5.5 months of having to continue to live with trauma-induced sensations and experiences in your body when you can actually be free of it. You can actually find freedom and closure with it. So I encourage you to apply for your spot before it fills up, okay? So what you do in that is you go to healyourtraumanow.com. You'll apply for a consult with me, typically about 30 minutes long. We discuss your situation. I determine if this is an appropriate fit for you. If it is, I will invite you to apply. Then we'll get you enrolled, okay? Thank you, guys. I appreciate you again. And I will talk to you tomorrow. You guys have a good night and have fun. Go out and play. Okay. Bye-bye, guys.